Hi, it's me, Zaphod Beeblebrox, and I'm the British tech guru. Well, there's a potential problem coming up. Now, I buy a lot of my electronics, in fact, all of my electronics, from China. And I use AliExpress, eBay, and Temu, occasionally Amazon. And of course, Amazon sellers sell from China. And the American president has decided to put some increased tariffs on things. For the moment, it's not affecting me, but there's something called De-Minimis, which is the minimum. And basically, if I buy something from China via AliExpress or Temu or Banggood or just any one of those myriad of Chinese websites, as long as it costs under $800, I'm good. I don't have to pay any tax. Now, when the de minimis goes away, then I will be taxable. Things will be taxable. I'll have to pay tax. Now, that sounds awful, doesn't it? And in fact, it is going to negatively affect all the small entrepreneurs that rely on cheap electronic components to develop their products that they can then market to manufacturers and customers. Now, what's actually happening, and the press is going absolutely nuts over it, and they're saying, oh, blah, 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 trade war, trade war, trade war. It's not a trade war. There is no such thing as a trade war. What is happening is the president has tried to negotiate with the Chinese, and it has been unsuccessful. So he has implemented tax increases on imports. Now, what that means is that imported goods will then become much less popular, and where possible, people will source their goods from within the country. Now, the imported goods, as I said, will become much less popular, which means that will then hit the sales of the companies. Now, as an example, imports to the US under the De-Minimis program were about $250 million a year until about 3 years ago. Then Temu came along and imports went up to $1.8 billion a year. Now, taxes on $1.8 billion, there'll be a few hundred million, nothing to write home about. But that's not the goal. The goal of the tax increase is to make it a little bit unpleasant for the small buyer, so the small buyer stops buying from Temu, AliExpress, eBay, Amazon, all those overseas shippers. They stop buying or reduce their buying, which means then that the 1.8 billion a year of sales dwindles to very little. And that 1.8 billion, like I said, the tax is nothing really. Even at 50-60%, it's still nothing, because the tax isn't the goal. It's not collecting the tax, but getting the attention of the Chinese. And the Chinese will get their attention grabbed by the loss of $1.8 billion of market and $1.8 billion of sales. That will grab their attention. Similarly, any of these other imports. Now, the imports across the board for all countries, tariffs across the board for all countries, that's just a bit of a smokescreen. Really, he's targeting China, because China is well known to dump things cheap on the Western market, and candles, for example. And a container full of candles costs less than the shipping, and homegrown candle producers can't even compete with imported Chinese candles. But that's by the by. So the press is going nuts saying it's a trade war. No, it's not a trade war. It's a bit of tough negotiation between China and America. Eventually it'll settle down. Will we lose our de minimis? We might for a while. It might even go away permanently. I don't know. But I should imagine it will come back fairly quickly because... And if they're going to be charging tax on every single little parcel that arrives, for example, if I order a packet of resistors that cost $2 from China, and they arrive and there's 70% duty, so I'll pay you an extra $1.50 in duty. Who is going to collect that $1.50, and how much is it going to cost to collect that $1.50? Got to think about that. Because for the government to collect the tax, the tax, it's not going to be economical. And $1.50, or for example, if I bought something that cost 50 cents, it's not going to be economical to collect 30 cents of tax. It really isn't. So yeah, and this is a smokescreen, and anybody that says anything else does not fully understand international trade. It's going to be unpleasant for a short time, but yeah, you go ahead, buy all the stuff you want from Temu by the end of this week, because after that it could take 2, maybe 3 weeks for it to arrive, and you could whack with tax. You don't want that. So yeah, bundle all your purchases, make them this week. If you can't make them this week, forget about it. It won't kill you not to buy anything from AliExpress or Temu for a month or two. It absolutely won't, and most of the stuff is crap anyway. And some of the electronic bits I buy are absolute rubbish. But the vast majority of it, the components, I can mostly use. So yeah. Don't believe what you're hearing about the trade war and about Trump and whatnot. This is basically a chess match. Or to put it another way, it's two boys whipping out their wangs and trying to impress each other. So, yeah. Don't worry about it. Buy what you can right now, and be prepared not to buy anything for a couple of months until it all settles down, and whoever wins the difference of opinion wins. And that's been me, Say for People Brooks, the British Tech Guru.